Welcome to ConvHERsations with Kristie, brought to you by Herverse, a community where women who lead, build, and grow come together. This is a space for real, unscripted conversations with bold leaders who are creating impact. No fluff, no filters, just honest insights to help you lead well and live fully. Because at Herverse, we believe leadership isn't meant to be done alone. I am confident you are going to love it. So let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode. I am so excited to have Elayna Snyder here with me. Elayna, would you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes, I'd be happy to. And Kristie, thank you so much for having me. I'm so curious about how this conversation is going to unfold. I'm a creative coach, and I bring the artist perspective into entrepreneurship. My clients are successful visionaries, successful leaders, and they all are at the precipice of a very familiar question. And that question is, what's next? But they're coming at that question in a slightly different way, because it's no longer just what's next. It's also what's mine to do next. So there's a shift that they're beginning to experience that they don't really have language for. And it's this question of what's mine to do next that begins to take them beyond what they know and into the unknown, meaning what was before, what got them to where they're here, strategy, execution, optimization, all of these very business kinds of things. And they're starting to realize that there's something beyond that. And that beyond is a really scary place, because it's a place of, well, what's mine? What's here? Who am I? And I've seen that most of us hesitate to really step into that question. Yeah. And there's two things that I've really pinpointed with my clients that happen when we hesitate with that question. One is we leave our best ideas at the door. We shun them away because we don't understand them. We don't know if they're going to do the things we want them to do for us. Are they really going to help us lead effectively? Are they going to make us money? And then there's also the recreation of what you've already done, thinking that it's new, and it becomes this spinning cycle. And so both leave a lot on the table, a lot of opportunity, a lot of creation, and a lot of becoming. And so I lead my clients through a process where they are able to start to chart the uncharted territory of creation, of self, of leadership, and really become into relationship with the unknown, is how I like to call it as an artist.
I love that. Well, and I can imagine, as it is for most people, the unknown is really, really scary sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
But I would love to just dive in with something right here.
Absolutely.
Because the unknown is really scary. And if you think about anything that you've done, including opening your fridge to figure out what you wanted to eat this morning, there is a space of unknowing that you have to step into first. And so we can get really caught up in being afraid of the unknown and forget or not even understand that it is the first step that we must take to do anything, whether that's make breakfast or lead from our inner knowing.
That's good, Elayna. I feel like there's a million questions I could start asking, but I'm really curious from you, like, how did this all get started for you? Like, was this a discovery for yourself, and then you started working? How did this passion for helping people with this start?
Um, well, remember how I mentioned that cycle of recreating and recreating? that is the cycle that I have lived since I started my business until I found this space of really understanding how the artist perspective is absolutely essential for how we look at our businesses, especially right now as we're seeing the rise of AI and questioning what it means to be human. And I'll back up before I launch into anything about that, but I had a lot of questions for myself in terms of what I was doing and how I could be doing what I'm doing because my background is teaching English in Japan, starting a cleaning business that was really just myself, only to make money to do the art that I wanted to do, not having any idea that there could be an entrepreneurship angle there. And when I came to Germany, which is where I live now, I knew I didn't want to teach English or clean houses. And so there was this question of what to do. And I started marketing. I'd had a little bit of background in that as well. And so I started marketing, started looking at the questions of, well, to market effectively, we have to know what we do and who we do it for. And not being a business person, I thought that everybody would know the answers to those questions.
Mm.
Most
No.
of us don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so as I started to come into that, my first recreation was, okay, this isn't just marketing, this is personal branding. And that still didn't get to the depth of where I wanted to work. And so I just kind of kept up here, like on the surface level almost, not really knowing how to go to the depths that I live for myself as an artist daily. I didn't know how that could fit into these bigger questions that we have around business creation and idea evolution, reality creation, really, when we're talking about change and leadership. And so it's been quite a journey to be able to sit here today and make a case for why the artist perspective is vital for uh, business strategy and coaching.
I love that. So I'd love to hear it. What is your case for why it's so vital?
What is the case, right?
Yes.
When we look at the artist is always working with what is yet to be known. There is something that is coming through the artist, and they are starting from a space of unknown. There's an immediate relationship with that unknown and a trusting that the unknown will become the creation that they seek to bring into the world. I say that really nicely as though the artist has an easy way of life. That is not the case. This is all fraught with questions of self, questions of creation, questions of ideas, and so there's a lot of strife in that, and yet the artist leans in. And so, how is it that artists lean in and understand this relationship to creation as being uh, unified with what just can't be known until it's known? I think one of the most powerful things that I've understood as an artist is you can't know what you're creating until you've created it.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and I'd like to blow that up just a little bit more, because I want to link it to us in this conversation around business. When we're looking at business, business is all about creation. It's all about looking at a problem that needs to be solved and figuring out how to solve that and doing that in some new slant of a way or a new way entirely. And we can look at that in terms of the business as a whole, but we can also look at that within teams and leadership and the ability to really widen our view, to welcome in the unknown and know that we need to lead and create without having the answers first,
Mm.
I would say is a skill from the artist.
Yeah, that's a great perspective because I can absolutely see the similarities, right? As visionary leaders and those that are creating businesses and launching new things, we don't have all the answers, right? And we may have, I love to say as a visionary, one of our biggest roles is to paint this beautiful picture, right? And show everybody what it can look like, and what it will look like once we've created it and once it's beautiful. But the beginning stages, that's all creativity and how we do that. And it's definitely a very artistic, creative thing that happens within our own brains. So I can definitely see the link there.
Yeah, and I love that you pinpointed the idea of the beginning because there really is a space there that comes even before clarity that we often overlook because it's just full of discomfort, and that's really the space that I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
it's the I call it the pre-genesis space. It's the
Yeah.
space before anything that any person, any entrepreneur just wants to bust through because of the discomfort.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the risk, right? If we aren't willing to be there, then we can recycle, recreate, and think that we're doing what we're after without even really knowing what we're after. I
Yeah.
mean, I can see you nodding, right? Yeah,
Yes. As you're talking, I'm just thinking about my own entrepreneurial journey, and how I'll never forget 8 years ago, literally sitting in this room, and a blank piece of paper in front of me, a million ideas going through my head. And I had to take that blank piece of paper and say, okay, great. What is it that we want to do? And I
yeah,
just started writing and I started, just contemplating all of these things that we could do, or and I'm thinking about that in an artistic way, I really am thinking about painting that picture. And it really is like, what shade, what brush am I picking up right now, and what shade of red are we going to paint this part of the picture with? And pink, I got to get that pink in there too, right? What shade of pink are we going to use over here in this corner? And it's very true. All of those things, as you're creating a business and as you're creating offerings of what you're going to provide to someone, all of these things can really, like, it is very much so. It's an art, and it takes a lot of thought process. And very much so, like, I can imagine an artist picking up a canvas and just starting throwing paint and just brush strokes everywhere. If you do that within business, it doesn't always work out that well, right? It has to be very thought out. It has to be you have to see it in your own head to be able to share it. And that's the same thing that happened with my business too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I like how you're talking about the throwing of the paint and then the thinking, and to look again at the different stages. This is one
Mhm.
of the most important thing that I've come across in working with all of my clients is helping them figure out what part of their process they're at. Because
Yeah.
to have language like you're talking about means that a lot has had to happen before you can arrive at that language. And there is the throwing of the paint. There are I would say that the biggest challenges, or just like, let's all take a moment here and think about one of the biggest challenges we've just overcome in the last week. I mean, it doesn't even really have to be that big necessarily, but did the solution to that challenge come from simply thinking really hard?
Mm. What a great question to ask.
What do you think? I mean,
Well, there's a million things going through my head, but I think there was a question, and then there was not knowing the answer, and how do we get there, and filling in all of the gaps between, oh, okay, it's slowly, like, starting, like, I'm starting to realize, right? It's there's a question, or some sort of circumstance, and an outcome that you want to happen. And then all of what you're talking about for me is the end between there. It's like, I know that that's what I'm hoping to achieve, but the unknown is how do we navigate through this?
Mm-hmm.
How do
Mm-hmm.
we get from this to that? And that is sometimes scary, and that is sometimes I love to call it scare-sighted. One of my coaches taught me this term scare-sighted of it's scary, but it's also super exciting at the same time. And you're like, and our bodies feel the scared and excited. That emotion is the same. We feel it the same way in our bodies. And so if it's more scary to us than it is exciting, we can actually like trick our brains into saying, no, this is exciting because you have that same emotion. And so the getting for me personally, getting to exciting so that I can tackle it from from a higher standpoint of clarity and being curious and being like just looking forward to what's going to happen versus
Mm-hmm.
being scared, that's limiting and that's fear. And so if I can get out of that up to more clarity and more abundance, then I'm going to achieve more. I'm going to achieve clarity more, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
love what you said, because that's the way that I pictured it. What is the question? What is the issue at hand? What is the situation at hand? And what do we want that outcome to be? And the unknown, the in between is where I really see a lot of the fun of what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting to think about that shift between the fear and the excitement.
Yeah.
There are times in which we have ready access to creating that shift, but a lot of times, like, if we just think even how we're all sitting here right now and notice, like, there's probably some tension in your body somewhere. I'm noticing that I've got tension in my left leg. If I say to my mind, "I wanna release this tension," does the tension just simply release?
Mm.
No. Um, and so same with that shift from how do I shift from fear to excitement? Just thinking about it doesn't always make that shift. We can't force that shift.
Very true.
And so what are the different ways in which we can come at that question indirectly? I mean, one of the great ways is take a walk, take a shower, do the
Mm.
things that widen our mind to allow these almost inexplicable forces or ideas to come sit with us or unlock things or knock on the door so that that shift then can happen. Um, yeah, I like thinking about it within the physical body so that we can really feel it, and then also kinda going back into the mind space because we are taught, I mean, business, because of the certainty that it loves so much and because of our cultural value of knowing and that certainty comes from the mind, um, yeah, it's so much bigger than that. How do we tap into that is one of my favorite explorations.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, and listen, one of the things that you brought up kind of earlier on is one of the biggest unknowns we have right now is AI and all this artificial intelligence and what is it going to do? And there I love when I have a dear friend that always says, I talk nicely to my toaster now because when it takes over the world, I wanted to know I'm one of the good guys, right? I just laugh at that, but it really truly it's one of the unknowns because there are people that really truly believe that AI is going to be just an enhancement and we use it, and there are some that think it's going to be kind of that main leader, like it is going to take over the world. So how are you helping people navigate through all of the things with AI, and what are your own thoughts around AI?
Oh gosh, I have so many thoughts. I mean, I see AI as a partner, and even as like an artist and a creative, I I use AI to take care of the synthesis and the weight that used to take up in me so that I can open myself as my beingness, my human channel to to be in a space where I don't have to balance all of this heavy head stuff and to allow for the unknown to work its magic and for that real creation to come through. Um, so I think that there's when what I'm really talking about is our essence as human beings, our authenticity of who we are, that's something that AI cannot touch in terms of the way that that creates connection between you and I right now. AI cannot take this conversation that we're having. It can enhance it. It can help us look at it differently. It can help you create questions for me. It can help me synthesize ideas to bring them to you. That's all beautiful. But at the end of the day, as human beings, we are here with our authenticity and our presence. And that is what is becoming more and more needed. And I would say more and more known if we are willing to step back, see it as see the opportunity here for creation, for connection, for the ability to continue to build that presence through ourselves. I think that there are some really beautiful things that we have only just begun to let in.
Yeah. No, I agree that with that. And I think the big piece of what you just said for all of us to realize is first and foremost, AI is not going away, right? I mean, artificial
Yeah.
intelligence is here. It is no longer a thing of the future. It is today. And it's not going away. So how do we embrace it? And I know there are so many people, it is a four-letter word for them, right? And they're so terrified by it that they cannot embrace it. But how can we enhance it? I love that you use that word. I love the word enhance when it comes to AI, because you can't take away the human component of it, right?
Right.
Nobody will take away the connections that people make with other people, and
Right.
so maintaining that humanness is so important. But AI, I definitely see we're just at the beginning of it, and what it is going to do in the future. And I can understand how that is a little worrisome to some people. And it is the fear of the unknown that you talked about, right? And how do you navigate through that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing that has helped me understand the fear, the unknown, the progression is when we look back and we look at when the internet came, uh, we look at when the Industrial Revolution came, and how all of these different changes have come up. We see different shifts, and we are able to talk about the hardship of those shifts. And this is what I heard a woman talk about recently. I just thought this was brilliant. This is a different kind of hard. Each massive shift that we have in the world is a different kind of hard. So
Mm.
I found that really helpful because we can try to compare it to when the internet came, and older generations can tell us more about that. Um, we can compare it, but then we also have to look at the different hardship that it is creating and to be able to learn from what came before in hindsight, and also build into, well, what is the quality of the struggle here? What is the hardship that is created as we navigate this and as we figure out how to be, how to use it, how to integrate it? Because you're right, it's been here to stay, and I think the question of, is it bad or is it good, keeps us in a space that doesn't actually allow us to come into the present, into the now.
Yeah, that's so true. It really is. It's so true. And Yeah, it's funny as you're sitting here talking about this and the unknown and what is it going to do. I can also, my business brain is working in ways of, if that is the direction in which AI is going, there will be businesses that counteract that too, right? To still make sure the human side of things is built in, and that the human side of our desires and what we need will flourish and blossom as well.
Yeah.
And the future is wide open right now. And it is incredible to think about, how these things are hard. And the internet was just one of many, hards that happened. And I'm sure you can go back, I can, like, the launch of like television and radio at one point. I mean, all of those things that are so natural to us today, that are just part of our day-to-day lives, that
Mhm.
was hard for a previous generation.
Yeah. And there was a lot of fear. I mean, the switch from radio to television, huge fear there. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and don't ask me to say how, because I hear these things and I love them, and then the facts escape me. I just look it up. Um, uh, yeah, there was one other point that I was gonna I think that escaped me too. So, um,
That's
yeah, yeah,
This has been a fun conversation. Like, I think, the fear of the unknown and the fact that you help people navigate through that, it's exciting, right? Because we all have the unknowns that are happening to us. You're right. Even, walking to the refrigerator is unknown. What am I going to create once I get in there? But there are bigger things at place.
yeah,
And I know for me, one of the biggest ones was, the unknown of what happened if I left my full-time role that had, stability and all of the things, and created something on my own. So I want to encourage, whoever is listening, listen to your heart, listen to what your body, what your mind, what your soul is telling yourself, because sometimes those unknowns are the absolute beauty of what you are meant to do in this world. And it's just structuring, it is making the big decisions, right, Elayna? It's what paintbrushes are you going to use, and what is your canvas, and but painting those beautiful pictures and creating beautiful businesses, it really is somebody's purpose. And I just want you to hear that and know that your purpose in this world matters, and the rest of the world needs to hear and see your purpose.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Oh, what a great way to end this conversation. But I want to ask you three major questions, my friend. You know me well, and so you know that honor means a lot to me. So for me means that, it's honoring a woman of a past generation, who has done something significant, either in the world or just for you as an individual. So I would love to know, my friend, who do you want to honor?
I'm gonna honor my mom today.
I love that.
She Yeah, she has done so much for me in terms of seeing me and creating a space where creation could always come through me. So much of how I'm able to think differently was the environment that she provided, and she worked as a single mom really hard to do that. And I feel like all of this through me is a generation of women alongside me too.
Oh, I love that last statement. That was a big statement that you made there. So, yeah, I love that you're honoring your mom. What about empower? Who is a woman of a current generation that either empowers you to be your most, or that you hope to empower her?
Yeah, gosh, the first person that comes to mind is a close friend of mine who works at the UN, and we are back and forth with the big, gritty questions of life and what does it mean to feel versus think, and just we are in it together, and the empowerment that I feel through our conversation, it's so mutual in the way that we're exploring questions that are scary, even when you're kind of okay with the unknown.
Kind of okay with it. I love that. And then what about inspire? Who is a woman of a future generation that you hope to inspire?
Hmm. Gosh. I don't I both think that she doesn't exist yet and she exists everywhere. Um, there's not a particular face that's coming to mind right now. It's more the future generations of women who are able to exist in the world with the beautiful, flowing, fluid power that is of us women, the receptivity that we hold and that often gets squandered by thinking that we need to be something else.
Mm.
Yeah, so the thinking about inspiring that generation and the feeling that now being able to feel inspired in this conversation with you thinking about that the reciprocity of it before it even exists is I think what I'm really feeling with that question, so
Oh,
thank you.
that's a very unique way to answer that. Thank you for that. So, my friend, tell me if someone wants to get a hold of you, and wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, my website is great, elaynasnyder.com. That's super straightforward, and you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active there, and I'm open to a conversation there, anywhere. I'm, yeah, just open to conversations and feeling inspired by those conversations.
I love that. Well, thanks, friend. I knew we would have a great conversation. I knew it would be very eye-opening, and I knew with you in particular that it would be very thought-provoking, right? I would walk away from this conversation just, needing to really think about the conversation we had and really let it absorb. So I just want to thank you for that, opening that type of space up for others to be able to truly walk away and want to think about all the things that you bring to the table. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Kristie. And what I knew that I was coming into with this conversation was your ability to kind of bring down some of those big ideas and make them a little bit more palpable for us, because I can play up there a little bit too long sometimes. And so this was a safe space to co-create with you. I really appreciate it.
It was so much fun. Thank you. Hey, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and I look forward to seeing you again next week when we're going to have another really great guest on. Y'all have a great week.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Conversations with Kristie. I hope you're walking away with a few nuggets of inspiration, maybe a new perspective, or just a reminder that you're not alone in your leadership journey. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, drop us a comment, or tag us with your favorite takeaway. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading with heart, and keep building the kind of life and leadership that feels true to you. I'll see you in the next ConvHERsation.